to this webinar and to those who are listening to the recording. I hope this is helpful. The purpose of it really is we get a lot of questions from our Canadian students about the NCA exams and also the bar exams that you have to sit back in Canada. So I thought rather than me telling you third hand what I know and understand, it would be helpful to have a couple of our graduates who are actually have been there and done that talk to you about their experiences. So I'm delighted to introduce to you two of our graduates, Jason Waller, who we've just discovered graduated end of 2017.
End of 2018.
2018, and Justine Abdel Shahid, who graduated March 2020. Oh, yeah, and returned home at the end of 2019, just before COVID hit. That was good timing. Not such good timing at the moment for some of our Canadian students, unfortunately. It's been a challenge. So I just wondered, I was going to ask you both to talk a little bit about your time at Griffith Law School. I guess what made you decide to come and study in Australia at Griffith, but then I think probably most importantly your journey since graduating back in so Justine in Toronto and you, Jason, in Vancouver, how you've gone about undertaking the NCA exams, your impressions of them, any tips you can give, and also the bar exams and what you're currently doing, where you're working and how you're finding it. So we might start with you, Jason, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. So I finished my degree in 2016. I did that here in Vancouver. And then I always wanted to go to law school. And obviously started searching. First thing that would always come up was a Bond University. Personally, I didn't want to go to Bond. And then I found Griffith through Austrek, and actually applied with a friend of mine who came along with me. And the whole reason I kind of went was I didn't want to do the LSAT. It was kind of going to delay me a little more. And I obviously wanted to go to school abroad and get that whole experience of moving away and whatnot. So did that, obviously got accepted, started there in February 2016. And pretty much that was all she wrote after that. Kind of in the same boat that you guys are in. Don't really know what is next, but it kind of just sorts itself out as you go. I wouldn't really worry too much about it now. Kind of focus on your school and everything that you're doing now, because you can't really apply for the NCAs until your official transcripts are in. And then personally, I was assessed 5 NCA exams. Those are all the courses that Griffith offers. So I think it's Consti, Admin, Crime, and whatever the other 2 are. And personally, I didn't find the NCAs too challenging. It was the bar that I actually thought was the hard part. So the NCAs, what worked for me was really obviously using your class notes. And your Canadian classes, take thorough notes and kind of prep for the future. And they give you a table of contents for each exam, and really hammering those table of contents and doing everything that they ask in those. So for instance, if they're telling you to do a reading on some Aboriginal topic, definitely have notes for that, know where to flip to it. And the NCAs are a 50%, so you need 50% or above to pass. So personally, I was obviously worried doing them, and then once the marks came out, it wasn't too bad. I passed on my first try. So yeah, that being said, I guess you'd have to worry about the NCAs, but the main stressor for me was we have in Vancouver, it's called PLTC, which is our bar. So you do 4 assessments and 2 bar exams at the end, and that was the challenging part. And then pretty much got through that. I finished my articling term for the 12 months, and I got hired back at the firm that I articled at.
That's great. Thanks so much, Jason. Justine, do you want to tell us a little bit about you?
Sure, yeah. Okay, so I did my undergrad in engineering here in Toronto at York. And I always had law school like on my mind, but I didn't really look into it until about like 2 months before I was graduating. And I was actually getting ready to write the LSAT, and I was getting ready to like start getting my stuff in order to apply to law school in Canada. But then I found out that I would be able to, if I applied to Australia, I would be able to go like 2 months after I graduated from my undergrad, which was really attractive to me because I didn't want to like spend a whole year studying for the LSAT and then potentially not get accepted in Canada, because it's really competitive. And like full disclosure, my undergrad GPA wasn't the best because I was in engineering. It was really hard. So I don't know if I had a competitive GPA to like spend a whole year trying to get into Canada, like after writing the LSAT and depending on my LSAT scores and all of that. So I kind of bypassed like a year. So that's why I wanted to go to, I also didn't want to go to Bond because I don't know, like, I don't know why they have like kind of a stigma over here when you say that you went to Bond, but like people are always like, oh, why'd you go to Griffith? And I'm like, because I didn't want to go to Bond. And it sounds so much better when you say you went to Griffith than if you went to Bond. I don't know why. I'm not sure why. Like, I think Bond is also a great school, but it just, over here, it kind of has like, I'm not sure. I actually don't know why it's like that, but that's kind of why I chose Griffith. And I was really attracted to the fact that it also had the Canadian law courses. Like that was a deal breaker for me. So yeah, I was also assessed for the 5 NCA exams. What are their admin, consti, foundations, crime, and professional responsibility, right? Yeah, I think so. They weren't too bad. I also passed them all on my first try. I think they might have been a little bit more challenging if I were to not have taken them in Griffith before. I think that was like a huge preparation and like a huge time saver when I came back, that I had that like under my belt already. But yeah, I would say that it's definitely, when you're preparing for the NCAs, it's definitely important to do all the readings that they set out for you in the table of contents, like Jason was saying. Yeah, I basically just did the readings, made some notes on those, and then used those notes during the exams. I found that the format of the NCA exams was like very similar to law school exams. It was almost exactly the same. So it was nice to like be prepared in that way. They're not meant to be hard exams. I just don't think that they're meant to be like really hard ones. The one that I did have a hard time with was the bar. We have just the bar in Ontario. It's 2 exams, the barrister and solicitor. They're 2 weeks apart, but you can also choose to do them in different sittings. So they have a sitting every March, June, and November. I chose to do both sittings in this past June, so I just did them. They're really difficult. That's like, that was one of the hardest parts about going through this career path for me. So they released the material in April, and from April until June, I was just studying like full time because I didn't start working yet. And yeah, I didn't get my results yet, so I can't really tell you much about like how I did, but hopefully it was good. But yeah, the bar exam, I mean, everyone has their own way of preparing for those, but I wouldn't worry too much about the bar exam yet because I just don't think like there's nothing you can do from now. So I just don't think that there's even a point in like talking about how to prep for it. I think that you should definitely focus on the Canadian law courses now. Just soak in all the information that you can to make your life easier when you come to write them. And yeah, I'm articling right now at a law firm in Toronto. One piece of advice that I would give if you're worried about getting a job when you come back is just network, like use LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn got me like so far. And especially because like it was kind of the only thing you had during the pandemic. So there was no there was no networking events or anything. And people are a lot more willing to answer messages and kind of like I found my mentor through LinkedIn, and she helped me and she answered a lot of questions that I had about the area of law that I wanted to practice in, and then I was even able to use her as a reference on my applications for the job that I got now. So I think networking via LinkedIn is like super important these days.
Thanks so much, Justine. Yeah, I was going to say tips for getting a job. So that's quite a good one as well. Yeah.
And like even cold emailing law firms, like the job that I have now, I emailed them last year because I really wanted to work at this law firm. I emailed them last year, even though they weren't hiring. And I was like, oh, like, please consider me if you're hiring, because I really like this law firm. Like, it's the area of law that I want to work in. And they had my resume like still on file from the year before. And they remember because they posted that they were hiring again this summer. So I emailed them and I was like, oh, I already applied, and they remembered me. So I was like, okay, that's amazing. So like even just like cold email law firms, like if there's a place that you want to work, just bug them. But like, don't, yeah.
Jason, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I agree. I also had a mentor that's been in the profession for a long time. I've known her for a very long time. And if you have any connections, if you know people that work at law firms, don't be afraid to ask them for advice, tips, even a soft introduction. That always goes a long ways. So how I got my job was through my mentor. She actually asked the firm that I'm working for now if they needed a student, and it was pretty funny how it worked out. Their student was leaving, and the day the student was leaving, she got in touch with them. So you really don't know what the situation is at a firm. So I got very lucky in that sense. But definitely, how Justine was saying, cold email. Even I was told door knock. I did that as well. Obviously, that's a bit harder with COVID, so emails might be a preferred way. But you never really know when someone's going to need someone. There might be an upcoming trial, and they need help. There might be someone that just left the firm. You really don't know what's going on, and they desperately need someone. So that's really when they're looking. They never, you'll catch them. I guess you'll kind of catch them in a time in need, obviously. And yeah, definitely LinkedIn. All of the connections and networking tools that you have, definitely use them. Don't be shy, because people will be asking you in the future as well. So yeah.
Fabulous. Thanks so much, Jason. So I'm just wondering if anyone's got any questions, and you can either type in the chat box, or you can just put up your hand and then use your mic and ask your question. Just following on, I think you made a point, Justine, about the reputation, Bond versus Griffith. And Bond's obviously been teaching Canadian law students for many, many years, I think close to 30 years. But I think they're not as well ranked. So it's about international rankings is probably the explanation for that. So I think because Griffith's a large public university with strong international rankings, that helps. But I agree with you. I don't like to denigrate other law schools. They all have their pluses and minuses, and yeah, it's really a matter for what is going to suit particular students. We like to think we offer a good experience, although I must admit our current students who are having to study from Canada offshore are not really benefiting from that experience at the moment.
No one's come in to Australia?
Not yet, no.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
So everyone on the call now is calling in from Canada?
No, I can see Nermit there, who's in the country. So some stayed, some went back, and some have actually enrolled. Since COVID, and are hoping to come soon, I think, and we're hoping to see them soon. Yeah. So, any of you lovely Canadian students, do you have any questions for Jason or Justine?
I think there's one in the chat here.
Oh, yeah, we've got a hand up too, have we? Oh no, that's just Linda saying people can only get into the country if they have eligible for very narrow exemptions.
Has their hand up.
Oh, Tal's got yeah, Tal, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thank you again to everyone for chiming in today. I was kind of wondering if the two of you could speak a little bit to your assumptions going into law school and the transition from doing the NCA exams and coming back to Canada, and sort of how maybe some of those assumptions may have proven true or false, and sort of how you adapted to that process. Because I've gotten so many mixed opinions about the advantages of studying law abroad and coming back to Canada, and I guess some of those challenges you found and how you may have overcome them while studying abroad, and then also once you did come back to Canada afterwards.
Yeah. Do you want me to start, Justine?
Go ahead.
So personally, and I find this with a lot of people, law school and actually working in a firm are two total different things. Law school, you're kind of learning the basics of law and stuff like that. But when you actually learn and when you actually start working in a firm, that's where you kind of start learning the ins and outs. That's why it's kind of, I was told as a student, if you have the time to work as a student in a law firm, I would highly recommend that. And I stand by that. You kind of learn the kinks and what kind of goes on in a firm, like little things that go on. What are file colors, file numbers, how to find things in the directory, emails, and how to kind of learn about day-to-day life in a law firm. And the notion, I was like, okay, after law school, I'm going to know everything. I'm going to go into the firm. There's people that are practicing for 30, 40 years, and they still are learning every single day. So it's kind of something that you're working towards. And I can honestly say every single day, I learn something new. Just a way of doing things. And that's why experience is so important. But maybe I'm getting a little off track. I kind of forgot what the question was, but the transition, it's Griffith definitely prepares you for the advocacy. I know Canadian law schools don't have like moots and stuff like that are mandatory. When I was first articling, I got thrown in my first week to do a chambers application, which is in front of about 40 people and everyone's waiting to have their matter heard. And I was fully prepared because I've actually done moots. I've introduced myself in court. I've done things like that. So I knew that I needed an outline. I knew that I needed to, what to do to be prepared for that. So Griffith definitely does prepare you in that sense. And yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm just sending a link in the chat because I see Linda asked a question about organizations in Canada that offer mentoring program for students. And I just thought of this ITLNCA network. They offer international students. Okay, so one of the like few disadvantages that I found going to law school abroad was that I wasn't able to network with many companies in terms of like second and third year, first and second year on-campus interviews for positions in the summer and for positions, even articling positions. So this, the organization that I just sent the link in the chat box offers on-campus interviews for international students with the large downtown law firms. So most of the large downtown law firms now have been making room for internationally trained students. They're hiring more of them, and they do their interviews through this ITL NCA. So that's why I just wanted to send that in there. So I feel like that would be a good resource for people who are looking for. They have a lot of events too. I think their next upcoming event I see now is Osgood's Internationally Trained Lawyers Day. So Osgood is one of the law schools in Toronto. So they have like a little webinar about that.
Yeah, there's also a, I believe it's Yeah, it's called the Law Job Exchange. It's a Facebook page that you pretty much apply to get invited to. I know Supreet and a few others join that. And they're constantly posting positions, articling positions, individuals talking about their experience as well. If you just scroll down, there's always new people hiring, there's articling spots, there's NCA tips, things of that. It's called, I'll type it in the chat.
That would be great. Thanks, Jason. That sounds like a fabulous resource.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've got a couple of things in the chat. Dimitri's just, it's not really a question, just noting that most Canadian students are currently attending online workshops from Canada, which obviously isn't, you know, as good an experience. That might have been in relation to a comment you were making, Jason, about taking advantage of attending court and everything like that. I mean, Dimitri, you still will have had the contracts to moot, I guess, just online. And actually a lot of the mooting competitions, national and international, are now online. So it is possible to get that kind of oral advocacy experience online, but I agree it's not as good as actually being in a kind of courtroom setting and practicing those skills. Nermit asks what area of law you are working in and why, and what firms, if you're willing to share the names of those firms. So maybe you first, Jason, and then Justine.
Yeah, so I'm currently working in a predominantly personal injury firm that deals with motor vehicle accidents. We also do slip and falls, some estate work, couple family law files, and a couple corporate bookkeeping stuff. But it's predominantly a personal injury firm. Initially, I had a plan prior to law school of pursuing personal injury and things kind of in that realm. I'm not sure if you guys are aware that BC's laws have changed now. We've gone into a no fault. So that's kind of going to be changing in the future. My firm's name is Learn Zank, Barristers and Solicitors. So that being said, yeah, it's kind of a weird time for personal injury lawyers in BC for sure. That we're kind of trying to figure out where the future is going to go. Obviously, we have pre-existing claims that will last us for about 5 years, but definitely in the future, I'll have to look into going into something else. I'm kind of thinking about civil litigation. Kind of mirrors personal injury as well. So yeah, that's the type of work that my firm mainly deals with.
For me, I'm working in patent law. So in patent law, they usually are looking for people who already have an engineering degree with their law degree, because it's a lot of technical work. So having an engineering degree is really helpful in this area of law. And that's kind of why I went to law school too. I always wanted to work in patent law. I was going to say something. Also my job is training me to become a registered patent agent. So in Canada and the US, I don't know about Australia, but there's a difference between a patent lawyer and a patent agent. But I'm going to be training to be a registered patent agent as well as a patent lawyer, so that you could sign off on people's patents and actually register them for them instead of just working on them. So yeah, I work at PCK IP in Toronto. They're a law firm and a patent agency. So like one part of it is called PCK IP Lawyers, and then the other is called Perry and Courier Patent Agents.
Fabulous. And how did you go about getting that job, Justine? So you just wrote to them when they weren't, that was the one you wrote to when they weren't recruiting and just, yeah.
So last year, I was trying to just like, cause I had just started studying for my NCAs and I wasn't employed and I was just like, what am I going to do? I was a little bit worried. So I just started writing emails to patent law firms that I thought looked interesting. I found this one after a little bit of searching. They weren't hiring for an articling student or a lawyer or anything like that. They were hiring for a clerk, which is like completely different. In Canada, we like clerks are not like law school educated. They don't want, I don't know about Australia, but they don't really want law school educated people to be hired as clerks. So they don't really respond. So I was like, oh, I'll just give it a chance, whatever. I'll just write to them and I'll just tell them I'll submit my resume and my cover letter. They got back to me and they said that they didn't have a position open for me specifically at the time, and but they would keep my information on file. So then a year later, around April, I saw posting that they were hiring for an articling student. And so I applied and I emailed them and I was like, oh, like I applied last year. I hope you still have my information on file. And they remembered me. So I feel like that kind of gave them the impression that I was really serious about wanting to work for them, that I had already written to them earlier. So it kind of gives them more confidence that you're really looking to, like, you're really passionate about that area of law that you're looking to work into. You're really passionate about them as a law firm, instead of just like applying to like a million law firms. They want to, like, a lot of law firms want to know that you actually care about the type of job that you get.
Fantastic. And Nermit's just asking, are you an engineering graduate as well, which you've said you are. So he's asking because he studied electrical engineering in Ottawa as well before. So maybe he'll follow a similar pathway to you, perhaps.
Yeah, they're actually always, like, electrical engineers are really high in demand in patent law. They're actually, the job that I was hired in, their job posting said electrical or chemical engineering preferred. And I'm neither of those two, and I still got the job, but that they were really looking for electrical or chemical engineers.
Yeah, so Nermit, maybe you need to note down the name of the firm that Justine's working at and try them when the time comes. Yeah. We've got Tal and Nermit still typing. Nermit's noted the name of the firm. Thank you. Great.
I can just verbalize my question if that's okay.
Yes, yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Tal.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to hear about that transition from what happened right after graduation in the NCAs and going to law firms. And I'm kind of wondering if at the point of graduation, if you had alternative career choices. And I guess what I mean by that was, were there positions available in policy and research if you wanted to get into arbitration, for instance, or if you wanted to go in a different path than just, I guess, perhaps the traditional mold that a lot of people see lawyering in?
Yeah, personally, I didn't look at any other careers, but I'm sure there's always job postings, and obviously having a law degree is fairly good, regardless of if you go into law or not. But personally, I was only looking specifically towards law.
Same here. I wasn't really looking to get into any other areas of law, but I do have a friend who went to law school at U Ottawa and is now working in a policy job in the government. So that it's not like he's not working as a lawyer. He didn't even article yet. He just works in that position. So I guess there's always those kinds of, like, advising policy and stuff, if that's what you're interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say, and Australia is the same, and Canada, that a law degree is regarded very well in a range of different careers because of the skills that you learn as part of a law degree, that ability to communicate clearly, both in writing and verbally, the ability to think logically and present a well-structured, persuasive argument on things. Those types of skills are useful in a range of jobs, and certainly I can think of lots of graduates all over the world, actually, in a range of careers that aren't just strictly law. Some, for example, in more finance, like merchant banking and things like that. Some in politics, some in government. Large non-government organisations, all those types of things open up. Malcolm's just typed, that it's useful to get admitted if you want to practice law at some point and then go off and do the other things. Yeah, so it's probably not a bad idea to do what is necessary to become admitted as a lawyer, and then, see where that takes you.
Yeah.
Just to keep your options open. I think that's good advice. Okay, and I can see Nermit's typing. So we might just see what comes up there. One last question for Justine regarding becoming an IP agent. Is that another postgraduate or just a certification to do that?
So you need to have been working as a patent agent trainee for 2 years before you can do, there's 4 exams. But your firm should be preparing you for those exams, and your 2 years of work is preparing you for those exams as well. They are very difficult exams though, from what I'm told, but there are like preparation courses that you take. But regardless, like any IP firm that's hiring you on as a trainee is hiring you on to eventually get you to be a registered patent agent. So they put you through all the training for that, and then you write the exams 2 years later. That's usually the path for any patent agent trainee.
Great, thank you. I just wondered if either of you had any words of advice to finish off today for students still doing law, thinking about what they're going to do when they get back to Canada, or those who are still in Canada but hopefully will come here and then be going back to Canada. What's the best tip you could give, what you regarded as most important for you?
I guess I'd say enjoy your time in school, because school is actually not as brutal as a profession. It's not that bad, but school is definitely, enjoy your time. I hated school when I was in it, but the freedom that you have while you're a student is definitely something you should enjoy.
Yeah. I would say just stay motivated. I'm like, it's kind of rough when you come back and you're just like, what am I going to do now? When you're in that in-between period of like getting assessed with the NCA and you don't have a job, and it's kind of like it can kind of get to you and make you a little bit upset, but because it kind of seems like, oh my gosh, where am I? Like, what am I doing? But honestly, I would say that I think most of the people that I graduated with are like in a really good place now. I know Sabrina's working, she did the bar exam at the same time as me, and she's like almost done her articling. I know Cindy's working at a law firm now too. And then Annika is like working in LA, and she got her master's too. It's like, I think everyone's in a really good place. And I know some people like stayed over in Australia too and are going that. So I just think that like you should look to the people who've been there already and just know that like if we've done it, then you can definitely do it too. Like there's a way. Like you just need to stay motivated and keep your head up. Even if it gets tough, like you can message me whenever. I'll motivate you.
Yeah, likewise. I agree, definitely.
Fabulous. That's very generous of you both, and also very generous of you to give your time for this webinar. We really appreciate it. And yeah, stay in touch, obviously, and hopefully it won't be too long before I'm over in Canada visiting you guys. And hopefully our students who are over there at the moment will be able to get to here before too long. So yeah, thank you so much for giving up your time, and lovely to see you both.
No problem. Thank you guys. Take care.
Good luck, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.